Hey, this is Brian, thanks for watching Keys. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to install Dinan's all-new carbon fiber intake on my wife's X7 M60 with the S68 engine. After I show you how to get it installed, we're gonna take it for a drive and you can hear how it sounds. First thing we need to do is pop the hood by pulling the hood release 2 times. Once you've done that, you can simply lift up. There's no hidden latches. Now we can remove the engine cover. It's held on by 5 different grommets. There's one roughly here, 2 roughly here, and then 2 in the back. So with 2 hands, just very carefully lift up, and then pop this one. Pop this one. Here's all the locations. So it's basically just these plastic balls that go into these rubber grommets. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to release some of these rivets over here. So you can see there's one here, there's one here, there's one over here. We're gonna do this side, and then we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side of the car. The reason that we're doing this, we need to remove this metal plate. It's going to be replaced with carbon fiber, a brand new one from Dinan. It's actually part of the intake, and it is super slick. So with that, let's start removing them. Now, the best way to remove these is to pop up the center portion, just like this, and then the whole thing should come out just like that. And when you go to reinstall them, all you do, push them in, lock it in with that centerpiece. So we'll remove this one here. And I just need it to be able to move up a little bit out of the way, so that should be pretty good. So let's remove those same 3 on this side. All right, so what we need to do now is we need to remove this radiator cover. First thing we're going to do, pop out your hood release cable. Just slide it out just like this. Then we're going to release these screws over here. These are all T30s. Then you can remove all of these T40s, these big ones over here with the big silver head. Keep in mind, there are 2 hidden ones. There's one under here, and there's also one under here. If you'd like to remove this weather stripping, you are perfectly fine if you want to do that. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to get back on, so just note that. That's why we're going to do it with all of this still on, but loose. So then once you've done that, take your cable, lift it out of the way, then you're gonna lift this piece pretty much straight out, just like that. Now with these little plastic radiator stays, we do need to remove them because they're going to be reused on the Dinan system. If you look, it's held in by 4 tabs. There's one here, 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 and here. So what I like to do is apply some outward pressure, pushing down this way, and then just take a driver and just pop in each side. You just have to be careful that they don't snap back in as you work your way around. Like that one. There we go. Just like that. Okay, there we go. Now, one of the really cool things about this intake is that it takes air from the grills and it throws it up into the intake for maximum benefit, and it sounds stinking cool. We've installed these on X5Ms in the past. That being said, there's a little piece of plastic in the way. Keep in mind, while we are going to cut this, if you ever go to stock to sell the car back, or maybe your car's a lease or something like that, when you put the metal tray back on, you're never gonna see it. So it's not a big deal. We're just gonna make a couple small cuts. What you wanna do is find the center point right over here. I'm gonna put a piece of tape up top, and you're gonna see why. So our center point is about right there. The overall hole needs to be 16¼ inches wide. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 8.125 inches this way, and I'm going to make a line. Then 8.125 inches this way and make a line. There. So then just double check yourself. That one looks good, and that one looks good as well. All right, so from there, I'm going to take another piece of tape, put it right here, just so when I draw, I can see where I'm at. And I'll do the same thing over here. Then I'll put a piece over here. And basically this line is just gonna get traced out like this. Okay, then get a straight edge and mark out your line. Okay, 16¼ we're looking good. So now let's fire up our Dremel and make these 3 cuts, the one on the right, the one on the left, and then the one down the middle. All right, so at this point, what you wanna do, you wanna clean up your cuts and make sure you clean everything really nice. We have a Metrovac. We love this thing. It's 4 horsepower, way overkill, but it gets the job done really nice. So now what I wanna do, I want to test fit it. It should go in with ease. If not, we're going to retrim some of this, but everything is cut to size, so it should go right in. Okay, slide that under there. Slide that under there. Boom, look at that. That is awesome. Everything looks and fits great. Literally dropped right in. I probably have a 1/4 inch on each side. The cool thing is I did cut it to what they recommend, but if your cut isn't 100% perfect, you can't see it anyway. All right, so now that we know everything is good with this, I'm gonna just slide it out, and they recommend just zip tying your hood release cable to the center, just to make sure it's not gonna dance around. All right, so then we can slide this back in. Remember, the carbon goes under this plastic and this plastic. Okay, should fall into place like that. Then you can take your radiator clips, slide them in. That'll clip in with ease. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay, just like that. Now that everything is in place, we can reinstall our T40s and our T30s. When you're tightening the screws and bolts back in, just make sure that you're not going too tight. You just want to snug them up. Otherwise, you could crack the carbon. All right, so now what we're going to do, we are going to loosen this hose clamp over here. There's another spot over here, and then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Then with a T25, we're going to release all of these screws that hold on the top of the intake cover, and we're going to be removing both of those so that we can install the rest of the Dinan intake. Once you get to this part right here, you just take this little line, you can lift it up and then shimmy it out of the way. All right, so what you're going to do now, pull this off of here. Just be careful not to drop anything in there because it will go in your turbo. Then you can rock this up and pop it out of the way. You'll notice that when I do this, I never remove the screws. It makes it less likely that you're going to drop anything. So once you've done that, you can simply remove your air filter, and I'm going to vacuum this out just to make sure we have a nice clean start. Now, when you're doing this next part, there are 2 different couplers and they are different sizes. If you take a look at this one, when I go to install this part over here, you can see it slides inside. That is not what you want. This is the passenger side. You want to get the one that looks like this, that's going to slide over just like that. We're not quite ready for it, but I wanted to make sure you start out with the right one. All right, next what you need to do is we need to install the seal. This is a long piece of tubing. You can see that there's a little slit in it. And what you're going to do is if you take a look at this inner groove, we're going to install it along this entire inner groove. When it comes to the corners, sometimes if you have one that's a little subtle bend, a lot of times it's very easy to just bend it over. What I like to do is when I get to spots like this where it's a tough corner, I'll typically give it some kind of relief cut or just completely cut it just so it is a nice, good fit all the way along. So at this time, you can apply the gasket. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to prep the driver's side, which is going to look like this. It's a little bit deceiving when you do it. You just have to make sure that you match it up and then it'll make perfect sense. Before we put this on, we need to put the filter on. So to do so, just kind of slide it on. Okay, just like that. And then you can snug up the hose clamp. All right, so what I'm going to do now, just tighten this up. Just keep in mind it is carbon fiber, you don't have to go crazy. Then what you're going to do, I like to just get a hose clamp, just slip it on like that, and we can position everything in place. I will typically start with the coupler over here. and just make sure that this is going to go on nice. This is when it's super easy to get to. And then make sure that this is sitting flush. Then what we're going to do, Dinan gives you these little rubber washers. You're going to take these and you're going to reuse the screws that we originally removed. So at this time, put a little protective rubber washer on there and we can reinstall all of these. Next, you can tighten up the lower hose clamp. There is going to be something that covers it, but I'm just gonna go from this angle here. Now, when you're tightening the lower hose clamp, you wanna make sure that it's really nice and centered on the plastic. If you go too high, what's gonna happen is as you tighten, you're going to just basically pop it off and then you're gonna get a big air leak. All right, so once you've done everything on this side of the car, it's basically a repeat process on the other. The only thing you need to take note of is when you look at the clamps, like I said before, one says 80 to 100, all of the other ones are going to say 90 to 110. The little clamp is going to go over here, and this is the smallest part of the entire intake. So basically do the exact same thing we just did, just make sure you use the smaller clamp on this side, and the rest is exactly the same. All right, so now it's time to install the last part, and then everything is 100% done. You're going to take this coupler right here, it's long and skinny, and it says Dinan. That's going to go on the bottom, feed it onto here. This is a snug fit, and that is very intentional. And because of how snug they're able to get it, you don't need any clamps, which is awesome. All right, so once you get that on there, then what you're going to do, you're going to work at getting it on here, and then we're going to bolt it to the intakes. I can tell you from past experience, if you try to bolt it down first and then get this on, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So let's start by the lower, and then we'll bolt it in. Then also included in the kit, you're going to find these little bolts. These are a 2.5 millimeter head. And then there's also these washers that have a little piece of rubber on them. At this time, go ahead and install them to secure this main part to the intakes. Now, when you're installing this, what I recommend doing is loosely put them in. Make sure that you can get all four in, because sometimes you do have to just pivot it and maneuver it just a little bit. And then once you're fully done all 8 of these, then go back and tighten everything up. All right, so as you can see, everything is now fully installed. This is hands down one of the best looking and sounding intakes you can buy on any car. I love that they specifically make these for the SUVs. Like I said, they make them for the X5M and some other SUV platforms like the X7. And I think they absolutely crush it. I love how they didn't just throw filters on and call it a day. They literally made it better. Yes, you have to do a little modification to get the air scoop down, but it has an air scoop. It's like a McLaren with the thing on the back. It is so cool. But the real question is, how does it sound? Let's jump inside and take it for a drive. All right, we are on a backcountry road. Let's see if we can hear how good this intake sounds from the cabin of the X7. As many of you know, BMW does everything they can with noise canceling, from dual pane windows to extra insulation. They try to really kill every ounce of outdoor activity. So let's see if we can hear it. I feel like you can hear that roar of that engine. This thing pulls like a freight train. This thing, as you guys know, if you're watching this, you probably have one. It's a twin turbo V8, same motor that they're gonna put in the M5. This thing, especially with our exhaust, and well, we may have a tuner on here too, this thing freaking flies. Now, as I just prefaced, it is a little bit hard to hear from inside the cabin. So let me see if I can put down my window and hear it. Oh yeah, you can hear so much more turbo noise. Dang you, dual pane windows, you're robbing me of sound. Oh yeah, you hear so much more turbo noise. You know what? I don't know if this is gonna work. Let's take my microphone and we're gonna put it inside the engine bay so that you can hear what everybody else that you're gonna pass is hearing when you fly by them. All right, I just retrieved my microphone from the engine bay and we listened to the sounds. This thing sounds absolutely incredible. It's the first time I've probably complained that the quality of a car was too good to where they insulated the sound and we couldn't even take advantage of how good the engine sounds. But I guess a lot of the X7 guys want to have it nice and quiet. We like a little bit rowdy. That's why we put a nasty exhaust and stuff on here too. But absolutely love the way this thing looks and sounds. And if you guys are looking for one for your X7, they also fit the X5M and a few other models. So be sure to check the links in the description. We have them available at kies.com, KIES.com. If you like today's video, give us a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.